Good evening. Well, today the Who's were on at Rosehill. Of course, it's just that that was the girls' day out, fair the girls' day out. I suppose the only way the race clubs will make any money is they've got to have these novelty things. I wish wouldn't have them near the betting ring. All these stupid girls running around and screaming and yelling. It's not the races. It's the club. It's the club. We all went to the club today. Now, during the week, very quickly, on Wednesday we had a meeting at Warwick Farm. Now the track was given out slow there, and it was upgraded to deadish towards the end of the day. We had a steady easter blowing. No, completely wrong. Nor'wester, a nor'wester blowing. It's at one stage it was a little bit solid, but it didn't seem to have any effect on any of the results. But the track did have an effect on some of the results, because the first race was the 2200 metre race. The winner, Presido, apparently sweated up very badly in the yard and looked a bit light, according to the yard watchers. But it led on the fence and got a very. They said they were going to lead today, and they did. And they went straight to the lead. Serge Lisney, as I told you, he'll come back as a puppy. He'll come back as a greyhound. Give him box one, it'll be all over. He went straight to the lead. Sitting on his outside was the Pumper. The Pumper never rode for the rest of the day or today. Injured an old injury apparently. He sat on his outside and he stayed close to the fence on Presido. Had a bit of a kick on the turn after getting the cheap lead, and went on and beat Instrumental, who sat on his outside by 1.3 lengths. Now, that was the distance race. It was quite evident after that the fence was not the place to be. The next winner did lead all the way, Miniature, and just hung on, got a little bit off the fence turning for home. But then after that, it was, well, the next winner, Kinsella, the short price favourite, the evening money on the field favourite, it led. It had barrier 6, and he stayed very sensibly. El Grace, he stayed 6 off the fence. He never went near it, and it led all the way. But as I say, off the fence all the way. It wasn't the place to be, close to the fence. So when you do the form there, have a look where your runners were. Then we went to Gosford on Thursday. God, there are swagger meetings, aren't there? 100 meetings everywhere. This game, I don't know how it's going to keep on going. Anyway, race at Gosford on Thursday. The rail was, the track was, well, going back to Warwick Farm, the rail was 3 metres out there. At Gosford on Thursday, the track was given out good. I think they might have upgraded it back to a good track later in the day. The rail was in a normal position. We were of the opinion that maybe the fence was not going to be the place at Gosford to be, but the track wasn't as affected as we thought. And as it turned out at Gosford, the fence was the place to be, leading on the fence as the day went on and saving ground on the fence. You found that there were, it was a bit of an advantage. Now the wind at Gosford, it did a complete turnaround. The very first race we had the wind was directly with them up the straight, the home straight, and then straight after that, the very next race, race 2, it did a 360-degree turnaround, and it was in the opposite direction, coming from the more or less the southeast. And it was a very strong breeze, and it was against the leaders when they turned for home, but that wasn't enough to stop them. You could lead on the fence and win. And by the time the last race had come around, it started to swing around a little bit to a northeasterly by race 6, and by the time race 8 came around, the wind was very light. So the fence was the place to be there. Then we went to Canterbury last night. The track was given out slow. It was upgraded to a dead track, and I think as the night went on, we might have even got to. I think it stayed dead all as a dead track for the rest of the night. There was a good little breeze, a southeasterly blowing. When they turned for home, the leaders ran into it, but it had no effect on leaders leading on the fence and hanging on to win. The fence was the place to be at Canterbury last night. It wasn't as savage as we have seen it in the past, but it was most certainly, there was nothing wrong with it, and as I say, saving ground, as Nash did, and we all saw in a couple of winners, saving ground in the fence was the shortest and possibly the best way home. Then we got to, if you got trapped wide in the run, it was you had to have something on the field to get home. Now we got to Rosehill today. The track was given out slow, and eventually they finished up putting it up as a good track after about, I think, 5 races. It was yes, after race 6. They'd got it. They said the track was only dead, and after race 6, 7, 8, they said we've got a good track now to play with. The edge was still off it. It's funny there today. I don't think close to the fence was any good just before the turn and in the straight. We did have a leader win on the fence, and that was in the second race, the 2-year-old Memorial, who from barrier 3 found the bunny and stayed close to it all the way and win. But as I say, I think the ride on the fence was a little bit inferior, and so you could give a little bit of a bonus to that runner. Now, just very quickly, it was there might have been a bit of a record set by a bookmaker. I know who he is, and he's a good boy. He worked at it's the longest, I suppose, not in the one day. Well, I've heard bookies go from, in the old days, go from, say, Kembla races of or Kembla trots of a Saturday afternoon to go and work up at, say, Bathurst trots on the Saturday night, and long trips like that. But I suppose it's not a record, but I haven't heard one as good as this one. There was a captain who worked yesterday at Gundagai, at the Snake Gully Cup meeting. Gundagai was on again today, but worked there yesterday at the Friday meeting, the Snake Gully Cup meeting, and today he was working at Roma, and Roma happens to be in the middle, the outback blocks of Queensland. So he went from Gundagai and he was working at Roma today. So that's a bit of an effort. I suppose he's one of those bookies who finds meetings where there are going to be lots of people about, I suppose, when you get these little cup meetings and so forth. I think he does work at Roma all when it is on during the Saturday anyway, but I just thought I'd point it out as how some bookmakers do travel plenty of miles. Now, of course, here today, the track, as I say, got to good. The rail was 3 metres out, and there was a stiff southeasterly breeze blowing all day. It was very strong halfway during the meeting, and I wonder, it did ease off towards the end of the day. I just wonder in the distance race, race 4, the only distance race we had all day, where the leaders ran into the wind along the side and down the back. And I wonder if that had any effect on the result of that race, where we found Chris Waller had 4 runners had half of the field in race 4, and he did get the trifecta, but the 2 outsiders in the field ran first and second. Well, his 2 outsiders anyway, are talking about Hoylonny and Permit, who came from, they were back, Hoylonny was 3 back, third last on the fence, and it was last permit, and they ran the Quinella. The runner that led in that race was Frozen Road, and sitting on its outside, Successio. So I wonder if the wind had any effect on Frozen Road. Maybe it didn't. But close to the fence, I don't think was the place to be. Now, in this first race, I'm not joking, the robots called the coppers. They just said, look, we've had enough of this. In this first race at Rosehill today, on the flux screen, they said there was 89.5%. 89.5% on the flux screen. In the marketplace, there was about 2 less. We got to about 87.5%. These were the flux in the first race. Number 1, Good Job Bro. Write these down. $4.60 to $7. Couldn't give it away. Would the owners of Good Job Bro please step forward? I think they got caught in the traffic and they didn't get to the track in time to back in. Suit, the winner, a huge result for the captains, went from $2.30 out to $3.20. The Life, it was $16 into $14, back out to $18. Kill Careless was $7 out to $7.50, back into $7, but got out to $10 and then came into $9 in the last minute of betting. And the runner that started favourite in the race, we put it up second pick, Runaway Star, 5 to 2 bar it, Runaway Star, got out to $3.80. It did start 5 to 4, 11 to 4 to 5 to 4. I had to wind the 5 to 4 off. You could still get it towards the end of betting on the fence. I think they returned it shorter than the 5 to 4, 225. But one of the pros, how much me at the 5 to 4. I said, I can't go on. I can't go on. I've got the clerk out in the car park now. He's got the car warmed up. If it wins, we're out the gate. And I bet him as much as I could. Anyway, it turned out the Satchel saved the day. It led on the fence. They said it pulled up with mucus in its airways. It's going for a spell and pulled up with a poor recovery rate. It led on the fence and was gone soon after, straightening. The winner, Suit, sat on its outside and was coasting all the way. It was quite evident when they turned for home that Suit was going to be able to get past Runaway Star. It did, and it won by 3 lengths, pulling up a Good Job Bro, who sat last in the field of 5, and came down the outside in the better section of the ground. The favourite Runaway Star was tied up against the fence. So, 87.5 we kicked off in the first. The next race, the fraud squad were there by now. They said, right, we can see the usual suspects here, and get the cuffs out, boys. 98.8 on the screen. You think that's a 5 less in the marketplace. 93.5 we only gave. Now, the flux here were Ducio number 1 was $3 out to $4.20. Aesop was 21 out to 41. Careless was off the card, $7 out to $7.50 into $3.50 at one stage, back out to $3.80 towards the end of betting. Rock Spirit 30 out to 40. The next runner, Tantrum Tester, 30 out to 50. It was 17 out to 21. Taranine. Murder Cape was 30 out to 50. Memorial, the winner, another good result for the captains, $3.50 out to $4.80. It led on the fence, stayed close to the fence, and was a good win. But there was a couple of a bit of fewer hard luck stories in this race. The next runner, Our Little Miracle, $10 given, Plenty of 9, only started 8. 60 out to 100, the next runner, Princess Zola. And Stradalina was $7 out to $9, into $7.50 in one stage, but back out to about $8 towards the end of betting. Only about 93.5, or even a little bit less. And it led Memorial, and it was travelling, always travelling. The stablemate they put all the money on, ridden by D. Brown, Careless. It was in 5th position, getting a lovely card up. It finished up running, was 3rd past the post. It protested against the horse 2nd past the post, which was Stradalina. Stradalina hung out badly all the way down the straight. His rider never corrected it. The protest was upheld. The winner did beat Stratana by 2.3 lengths. Forget the run of the top weight, Duccio. It missed a kick and got into a very ordinary position. He lost his... he could do nothing at the start but go back, and he finished up. He was last on the fence. And when it copped, was nearly put through the running rail, Rock Spirit, who was sitting midfield, it came straight back into the top weight's face, and number to Duccio's face, and he lost all of his momentum. Excuse me, I'll run out of Pooty Blue. He made up a ton of ground. He finished up running 4th and only beaten about 3.2 lengths. And as I say, you can completely forget its run. But by the same token, the winner was a good effort. Race 3, 109.8 on the screen. 8 less in the marketplace, 101. Well, they said the best luck in this favourite was the 5 on. Well, have your 5 to 1. Well, take your 5 to 1. We said, no. It wasn't $1.20, this favourite. It was never, ever, 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 never, if you never, ever, never go. It wasn't $1.20. There was $1.30 given on the fence, $1.28, $1.26, and it started $1.24. So you could lay the 4 on towards the finish of betting. It was $1.24, and they said the best luck was $1.20. Well, that wasn't the case. And there was only about, and there was a couple of other runners, Gene's Flyer was $51 and Campaigny was $41, and there was about 7% less in the marketplace. This little runner, White Sage, it's only, I'd say about 15 hands high, but it doesn't look too robust in the front section, but I think where it makes up for it is in the hindquarters. It seems to have a nice size backside for a small pony, and it travels very well. It had barrier 1, taken straight to the lead. He was, when they got to the turn, El Grace said, no, I'm not staying near the 18 pence. He was 3 off or 4 off coming to the turn, and then he got a little bit further off, and he might have been 5 off swinging for home, balanced it up, and put one around its backside and went on and won by 3.5 lengths. The runner that was on its back all the way, Hell of a Time, finished up running 2nd. It's a very nice little sweet galloper, and it's still going on its merry winning way. The 4th race, 104.8 on the screen, 102.5 in the marketplace, and this winner, I suppose it was a winning result for the captains, although Hoi Lonnie, they did find it. It was the best price. There was 21 given, 20 to 1 about it given Hoi Lonnie, but it only started the $17, so it was 20s into 16s. After opening up around about a $17 chance, we put it up 16s, got it out to 20s, back into its opening quote, and it settled, as I said, back 2nd last on the fence, 3rd last on the fence, and eased off heels, went in between Sky Raider and Worldwide after straightening, and it finished up winning by a length, coming through, more or less tailing it through, was its stablemate Permit, both of them making up ground. I wonder whether the wind had any effect on the leaders. most probably didn't. These distance races, you get different results all the time. Punters didn't really want to bet. Sessio was a bit hard to lay, got out from $3 out to $3.80. Likewise, the stablemate Fulgar, it was $2.80 out to $3.50. They took $7.50 at one stage, Frozen Rope, who led into $6.50, but got out and started $7.50, $7 towards the end of betting. The runner that was very well backed was Worldwide. They took the $5 off me towards the finish after $6.50 had been given about that runner, and it had every possible chance. Race 5, 106.8. They went back to the station, the Jacks. 101.5 only in the marketplace, about 5% less in the marketplace. Without going into it, there was 5% less. There was one runner in this race that never had a price, and that was Black Magic, who was very unlucky last start. It sat back in third, fourth last position, ridden by Ryan Wiggins, was eased off, made his run turning for home, but made up little ground. It was beaten about 5 lengths, and it only went up a $4.60 chance, but I think the best fluck is about $6.50, but it was $7.50 begging at the finish, and you couldn't give it away. Heart Tester, it sat outside the leader. Zaratone from that alley was always going to come across and lead, ridden by Killer Cat. It came across and led. She got a little bit off the fence, turning for home. Heart Tester was able to, once it crossed Zaratone, Heart Tester just ambled up on its outside, got into the lovely position outside the leader, and tucked away right behind it on the fence was the favourite in the race, the visitor from Queensland, Cape Kidnappers, and it had to go inside Zaratone when Killer Cat got a little bit off the fence turning for home, and it only got beat the 0.2 of a length. So if the inside section of the ground was a little bit inferior, I suppose switch the alleys and put, or switch the positions and put Heart Tester where Cape Kidnaps was, I suppose there's a very good chance that the Cape Kidnaps most probably would have won the race. And old Zaratone, the 8-year-old, well, it led and only got beat a length, stuck on fairly well. And there were a couple of fairly poor efforts by the other runners in that race. It pulled up very lame. Ivory Cognac. Race 6, 103.6 on the screen. In the marketplace, a skinny 97.5. Malavio, the SP was $3.50 Malavio. I was $4.20, 13 to 4 the field, favourite when they jumped. I was cracking it for some small section, but not as much section as I would have liked to have got out of it towards the end of betting, because the winner was the last runner backed, and that was 9th Legion, who sat in the 1-1 position. They said the best fluck was, I think, $7. There was I gave $8 and plenty of $7.50, and at the finish it was only $6, fairly hard to get, backed by the pros. And as I say, it sat in the 1-1 position. Malavio used up a good little bit of petrol, didn't come out real sweetly out of the barriers when they opened, and it took El Grace, the 3-kilo boy, a good couple of furlongs to cross and get to the lead. He got a little bit off the fence turning for home. The runner that was directly behind him and got the charmer, you would think, but as I say, it might have been a little bit inferior in there, was Soldad, who had barrier 4. It was directly behind Malavio all the way and got stuck to the fence in the straight. It finished up running third and getting in front of Malavio, as I say, who spent a bit of petrol on the run, and that could have been a little bit worse in going where Soldad was. But the winner, well, it got the good run. It finished up winning by half a length. Sedcom, who had barrier 1, it sucked up to the turn, but then after hitting the bend, was easing off heels, got in between runners and came down the outside, beaten a half a length. And Malavio held on ran fourth, holding on to fourth position. Soledad running third. There were quite a few runners backed in the race, only 97.5. At one stage, without going through the flux, as I say, the SP was only 350. I was 420, 13 to 4 when they jumped Malavio. A little bit of difference. And I think the best luck was $4, but there was a mile of 420 at some stages of betting. Race 7 here was a blessing in disguise. The winner missing the kick. Maybe not, because it did trot him at the finish. The favourite here was very disappointing, Specific Choice. This race, they said there was 108.9 on the screen. There was about 5 less, about 105 in the marketplace. And this race was won by the very well-backed late She's a Girl, who had barrier 2. Excuse me, it missed the kick slightly and settled back in third or fourth last position on the fence. Fifth last position on the fence. She's a Girl, who lost the race at Randwick last start on protest. And when they turned for home, D. Thornton, who's a very capable young apprentice, he eased off heels. He got around, went inside. He got inside King Cobia, who had every possible chance, and then hooked around the heels of Corey Vecken, who was in the 1-1 position, and went out after the favourite, who had hit the lead after they'd flattened out and looked all over a winner, but was very disappointing. It held on to third position, but beaten 2.7 lengths. It led on the fence raceway, got beat 17.3 lengths. Was it a little bit worse in there? The favourite, the rider said it pulled on him a little bit. Well, it over-raced, and when they turned for home, he got in between Raceway and the horse on his south side, Calvo. Got to the lead, as I say, flattening out. But, well, I thought for a couple of strides, I said, well, yes, his favourite's going to get home. But then coming very, very quickly all of a sudden was She's a Girl. The very well-backed 3-year-old, the only 3-year-old in the race, 3-year-old colt, got the goss. It was $8 into $5 hard to get towards the end of betting, and got the Goss's rider, S. Clipperton, who replaced Jay Kissick. He said it never ever travelled at any stage of the race. The trainer pointing out to the Stipes that the 3-year-old was very stirred up in the mounting yard, as a couple of horse watchers told me. And it was very well backed, from $8 into $5, as I say, hard to get, but it was never going to win. It got beat 5.5 lengths. The winner, after it hooked off heels, it came very quickly, and it went away and won by 2.5 lengths. She's a Girl. And that was about that race. No other hard luck stories. We came to the last race, and here we saw the Avery get home. The runner that we all saw last start, Corabetti, missed the kick at, when it was first up at Rosehill. It was a good result for me that day, but it was a very bad result for me today. Don't ask me why. In this race, we butted right up here. 109 on the screen. The robots were sweet. 4% less than the marketplace, about 105, and it went straight to the lead, Rastro. It finished up only being beaten about 2.1 lengths, and did cross, well, it had barrier, whatever it was, came in 1, came in 2, had barrier 6, went straight to the lead today, Rastro, instead of settling down last, and stayed close to the fence, which might have been the place to be. Outside it was the 101 chance Lucano, and 3 wide outside those runners, the 2 leaders, was Petrify, pulling very hardly, but trapped on a limb. There was another runner trapped wide here. That was the 80 to 1 chance Exceed and Exalt. It was tucked in, copped a little bit of a check, Corabetti. It was tucked in behind was off the track, but with cover. And when they turned for home, he didn't pull out widest, but he got a bit of a split inside of one or two runners and went out after the very well backed Imperil, ridden by D. Brown, who was in about 5th position, just behind the pace. It had got to the lead and looked like it was going to win for a few strides, but Corrie Betty went out after it in the last 80 metres or so and was able to beat it by 0.2 of a length. And it mightn't have been a bad run. Attaboy Ross, it copped a couple of little checks in the run, but it more or less had its chance. And I haven't really dissected this race. I'll do it tomorrow. Hunter Jack, I've got a funny feeling he might have been trapped a bit wide in the run back in the field. He did make up plenty of ground down the outside, Hunter Jack, and he finished up running 4th, only beaten about 1.5 lengths. Maybe you run this race again and you could get a few different results, but for the Grumble and Grunters, the Avery got home. I think they returned it shorter than what it started. The $4 never, ever, ever went off. Started $4 on the fence, as much as $4.60 given. It went up a 13 to 4 chance, $4.20, got out to $4.40, $4.60, came into $4, never ever shorter, starting that price. And as I say, it got the prize. That was about the meeting. Newcastle's on tomorrow. I'm not going to Newcastle tomorrow. They say it'll be a ghost town. And we've got a stack of meetings on next week, of course. So if you're whatever form of wire netting you were doing today, I hope you finished on the right side of the ledger. Good evening.